Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Alana woke up to the sound of her alarm at 5:30 in the morning. It was still pitch black outside, the streetlights casting a dim yellow glow over the snow-covered courtyard on the south side of Chicago. She stretched carefully, trying not to wake Khalil, and slipped out from under the quilt. The cold floor stung her bare feet immediately. The radiators in their drafty two-bedroom apartment barely worked in winter, no matter how high she turned the knob. In the bathroom, Alana stared at her reflection in the mirror. She was 32, but the face in the glass looked closer to 40. Dark circles sat permanently under her eyes, proof of too many nights with too little sleep. Fine lines had begun to appear around her mouth, and the roots of her hair showed new growth that desperately needed a touch-up and a fresh braid. She had neither the time nor the money for a salon. She ran a hand over her face, splashed it with cold water that made her gasp, and started getting ready for work. Khalil's muffled voice drifted from the bedroom. "You are up early again?" he asked, his tone already irritable. "The sun is not even out yet." Alana pulled on an old plaid sweater and stepped into her worn jeans. "I have to be at the clinic by 8, Khalil," she said softly. "Go back to sleep. I will be quiet. How am I supposed to rest with you making all that noise before dawn?" He grumbled and turned his face to the wall. Alana pressed her lips together and said nothing. When they first moved in together 5 years earlier, he used to wake up with her, make coffee, kiss her forehead, and tell her that she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He would walk her to the bus stop on weekends just to spend a little more time with her before she went to her part-time shifts. Now, it seemed that every sound she made annoyed him. In the kitchen, she stirred instant coffee into a chipped mug and ate a slice of toast with a thin layer of cheese while standing by the window. There was never time for a real breakfast. The clock on the stove blinked 7 o'clock in uneven green digits. Alana wrapped her scarf around her neck, picked up her tote bag, and headed for the bus stop to get to the community health clinic, where she worked as a front desk administrator. The job was monotonous and relentless. She answered phones, scheduled appointments, argued with insurance representatives, and tried to calm frustrated patients who had already been on hold too long. The pay was steady but modest, about $2,800 a month, and it was currently the only dependable income in their household. Khalil was building an empire, as he liked to say. Over the last 3 years, his empire had taken many forms. First, it was an online supplement store. Then it was a consulting agency. Then a computer repair service. Each venture began with a flood of enthusiasm and ended with debts, excuses, and a new idea that required more temporary investment. The money they had tried to save for a vacation, a new refrigerator, or basic repairs in the apartment went into his plans and vanished. The most he brought in was $500 or $600 in a good month, and that was not every month. Every time Alana gently suggested that maybe he should take a regular 9-to-5 job while he built his ideas on the side, Khalil's response was the same. "You do not understand business," he would say, waving his hand as if brushing away a fly. "You have to invest first. You have to be patient. Look at all the big names. They all took risks. That is how success works." Alana listened and endured. She took on a second job in the evenings, working as a remote bookkeeper for small businesses. After finishing at the clinic, she came home, made dinner, cleaned up, and then sat at the computer until midnight, reviewing invoices and balancing ledgers so they would have enough for rent, utilities, groceries, and somehow another small investment for Khalil. Depending on her client load, she brought in another $1,500 to $2,000 per month. On good months, she barely had the energy to be proud of herself. One night, after a long day at the clinic and an even longer evening of bookkeeping, Alana came home with heavy grocery bags digging into her fingers. Her feet throbbed inside her boots, the soles already peeling away. The sink was full of dirty dishes, crumbs were scattered across the table, and an empty cereal box lay open on its side. Khalil sat on the couch, laptop on his knees, scrolling with intense focus. Alana sighed softly and started washing dishes. The hot water stung her nearly numb hands, but she kept going. Khalil walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, took out the last of the juice, and drank straight from the carton. "You could at least sit down for a minute before you start cleaning," he said without looking at her. "You're always doing too much. The plates could wait. If I do not wash them, then who will?" Alana asked quietly, scrubbing a plate. I like coming home to a clean kitchen. It helps me think. Khalil shrugged. The house will not fall apart in one night. You make everything into a crisis. He walked back to the couch. The warmth that used to exist between them felt like a distant memory. They used to cook together, dance in the kitchen, and exchange quick kisses while washing dishes. Now she felt like hired help. That night, as she sat at the computer in their tiny bedroom, the television blared through the wall. Khalil watched a basketball game, shouting at the screen while she tried to add columns of numbers and fight off a growing headache. Over the next months, Khalil's attitude sharpened. One evening, Alana was changing into her worn sleep shirt when he looked up from his phone. "You really should join a gym," he said calmly, as though he were talking about the weather. "You have let yourself go a lot." Alana froze, her shirt in her hands. "I am just tired," she said in a thin voice. "I work from 8 in the morning until midnight. I barely have time to sleep." "Those are excuses," Khalil replied, already scrolling again. "Other women find time. Look at Dion's wife, Shanice. She always looks sharp. Nails done, hair done. You understand what I mean." Alana turned toward the wall and pulled on her shirt without another word. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She told herself that she was simply tired, that stress made people say ugly things, that this would pass if they could just catch a break. Another evening, as she flipped burger patties in a frying pan and stirred a pot of potatoes, he spoke again without looking up from his tablet. "You know, real wives create an environment where their husbands can succeed," Khalil said. "My friend Malik's wife does not work at all. She stays home, cooks, cleans, and he focuses on building his business. It is peaceful. No constant complaining about being tired." Alana kept her eyes on the pan. "What would we live on if I did not work?" she asked softly. "The bills do not pay themselves, Khalil." He slammed the tablet down. "That is exactly why nothing works out for me. I have to think about rent and utilities and you being exhausted all the time. I cannot think big when you are always counting every dollar. You keep pulling us back to survival mode." She turned off the burner and put the patties on a plate. "I am not trying to hold you back," Alana said, placing the plate on the table. "I am trying to keep us from losing everything." He took a bite, then frowned. "This is too much salt." She tasted one. It was perfectly fine. He just needed something to blame. Winter melted into spring. Alana continued the grind of 2 jobs, sleep, repeat. Her boots soaked through in the slush, but there was not enough money for new ones because Khalil had needed $1,000 last month for equipment for his latest project. He grew more distant, sometimes not coming home at night. When she asked where he had been, he said he had stayed at Dion's place to work on a business plan until it was too late to come back. She did not push for details. In the quiet of the bedroom, lying alone in bed, Alana sometimes wondered if there was another woman. If Khalil stayed with her only because of the convenience of a warm apartment, hot meals, and bills paid on time. The thought made her stomach twist, so she pushed it away and focused on the next report, the next invoice, the next bus ride to work. One Tuesday evening in May, the entire course of her life shifted. Alana had just come home from the clinic. She put a pot of rice on the stove and began chopping vegetables for a salad. Khalil sat on the couch, phone pressed to his ear, voice low, but vibrating with energy. "Yes, I understand," he said. "Yes. Tomorrow at 11 in the morning. I will be there. Thank you for calling." He ended the call and stared at the wall for a moment, then jumped up and began pacing. "What happened?" Alana asked from the doorway, knife still in her hand. Khalil turned to her with a strange smile that had nothing to do with happiness. "My grandfather Leonard died," he said. The knife nearly slipped from her fingers. She remembered the old man, nearly 90 years old, living in Indianapolis. They had visited him only twice, but he had been polite and observant, quietly watching them as they moved around the small apartment. "Khalil, I am so sorry," Alana said, wiping her hands on a towel and walking closer. "Was he sick? How did it happen?" "Do not worry about that," Khalil said with a short, almost amused chuckle. "The lawyer called. Granddad left a will. I am named in it. That is what matters." Alana blinked. "A will?" "Yes," Khalil said, his eyes shining with a feverish glint. He had a 3-bedroom condo downtown in Indianapolis. Probably other property. Maybe a house near a lake, maybe money, accounts, stocks. The lawyer would not give details over the phone, but he said, "I am the heir. I have to be at his office the day after tomorrow at 11. This is it, Alana. This is the breakthrough I have been waiting for." He paced faster, rubbing his palms together. Finally, something is happening for me. I told you that things would work out. This is a sign. Alana watched him, her heart sinking. There were no tears for his grandfather, no stories, no memories. Only calculations. Should we talk to your family about the funeral first? She asked gently. He deserves a proper service. Maybe we can help with arrangements. Aunt Gloria lives near him, Khalil said, waving dismissively. She has been there his whole life. She will handle the funeral. I need to handle the inheritance. The reading of the will is more important for me right now. That night, he called nearly every friend in his contact list. Alana stood at the stove and watched the rice boil over while Khalil said the same thing again and again. My grandfather passed, but he left a will. I am finally about to be wealthy. The rice burned. She threw it out and lost her appetite. For the next 2 days, Khalil was restless. He calculated possible amounts on his phone, looked up condo prices in Indianapolis, estimated the value of hypothetical lakefront property. At dinner, he said, I am going to buy a real car, not this old one that keeps breaking down. I will open an office in a prime location. I will take real business trips. Maybe we will go to the ocean. Maybe even Atlanta one day, just to celebrate. He used the word we sometimes, but every time he described a purchase, it became I. The evening before the meeting with the lawyer, he watched Alana critically at the dinner table. You know, Khalil said, tapping his fork against his plate. When this money comes through, I am going to need a wife who reflects my status. You really have to do something about your appearance. You dress like you just grabbed whatever was on sale at the thrift store. Your hair is not done. You do not even have a basic manicure. I would be embarrassed to take you somewhere high-end. Heat rushed to Alana's face. Her hands trembled around her mug. I dress this way because we do not have money, she said. I put everything toward bills and your projects. There you go again, Khalil said quickly. Always with the guilt. It is not my fault that you do not know how to budget and still look good. A capable woman finds a way. That night, after he went to sleep, Alana stood in front of the hallway mirror for a long time. Her sweater was worn and pilled, her jeans faded, her hair messy from being pulled back quickly every morning. She saw exhaustion, not failure. She saw someone who had been working from 8 in the morning until midnight for years. She saw someone who had forgotten how to breathe. The next morning, Khalil woke before she did. He stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the collar of his best white shirt and smoothing the creases in his black slacks. He had polished his shoes until they shone. Does this look right? He asked, turning from side to side. Should I wear a tie? Maybe a tie is too formal. But this is an important meeting. Alana watched him quietly. You look fine, she said. Very professional. Of course I do, he replied, checking his reflection one last time. Today is a big day. He gulped down coffee, checked his phone repeatedly, and kept eyeing the clock. What time do you need to leave? Alana asked, buttering toast. I need to be there by 11. I will leave around 9:30 to avoid traffic, he said. Do you want me to go with you? She asked carefully. For support, Khalil turned toward her as if she had suggested something offensive. For what? This is a Vance family matter. It has nothing to do with you. The words hit harder than she expected. Not family. Not after 5 years of shared rent, shared meals, and shared dreams. Alana swallowed the hurt and said only, All right. Good luck. He grabbed his jacket. I will be back when I am back. There may be documents to review. The door slammed behind him. The workday dragged. At the clinic, Alana answered calls and checked in patients, but her mind stayed on the lawyer's office in Indianapolis. During her lunch break, she sent Khalil a text message that said simply, How did it go? He read it, but no reply appeared. She tried not to check her phone every 5 minutes. By the time she reached home around 7 in the evening, the apartment was silent. She heated leftover soup, barely tasted it, washed her bowl, and sat down at the computer, pretending to concentrate on a spreadsheet. At 9:30, she finally heard the key turn in the lock. Khalil stepped in, still wearing the same clothes, his tie now loose around his neck. There was a strange gleam in his eyes. Well, Alana asked, standing in the doorway of the living room, searching his face for clues. Khalil dropped onto the couch and leaned back, a slow smile spreading over his mouth. Everything is even better than I imagined, he said. Granddad left a 3-bedroom condo in downtown Indianapolis, a lake house outside the city, a bank account, and a stock portfolio. The lawyer estimated that it is about $2 million, possibly more, depending on the appraisal. Alana sat down on the arm of a chair, stunned. $2 million. That amount did not fit into her practical mind. That is an entire fortune, she whispered. It is a new life, Khalil said. I am wealthy now, Alana. We do not have to live in this building anymore. No more struggling. I can finally start the business I always wanted, with real capital. He stood and walked to the window, staring out at the city lights as if he already owned a penthouse view. Then his tone cooled. I have a lot to think about tonight, he said. I am going to Dion's place. We need to talk this through. I will be back late. Do not wait up. He was out the door before she could respond. A cold knot formed in Alana's chest. Over the next 2 days, Khalil was almost a ghost. He came home after she fell asleep and left before she woke. When he was there, he sat silently, staring at spreadsheets and online listings, making plans that did not seem to include her. On Sunday around noon, he emerged from the bedroom with a folder under his arm, his expression firm. Alana, we need to talk, he said. She set down her phone slowly. About what? Khalil poured himself a glass of water, drank it, and leaned against the counter. I have been thinking about us, he said. We have been stuck for a long time. We are treading water, and I do not want to live like that anymore. I need to move forward, and you are an anchor pulling me down. Alana's heart hammered in her chest. What are you saying? She asked. I am saying that I want a divorce, Khalil answered in a level voice. It is the best choice for both of us. You will find someone who matches your lifestyle, and I will start over. The timing is just clear now. We have lived together for 5 years, Alana said, standing up, her knees trembling. I have worked 2 jobs so that we could survive and so that you could chase your projects. I have carried everything so that you could try again and again. How can you throw that away the moment money appears? I appreciate everything you did, Khalil said, but his eyes remained cool. Gratitude is not the same as love. Be honest, we have not been in love for a long time. We simply got used to each other. She stared at him, the words slow to form. You waited until you knew about the inheritance, she said. You waited until it was certain, and then you decided to get rid of me. You did not want to risk sharing it. Khalil did not answer. His silence confirmed everything. I packed your things, he said finally. They're in the hall. A suitcase and 2 bags. Your clothes, your makeup, your books. You can come back for anything I forgot. Alana walked to the hallway. The suitcase and bags were lined up neatly by the door. While she worked the previous day, he had folded her life into fabric and zippers, preparing to push her out of the home she had kept afloat. He picked up the folder and handed it to her. I prepared the divorce papers already, Khalil said. No property claims, mutual consent. You just need to sign, and I will file them with the county clerk. The process will be completed quickly. Alana took the papers. The lines swam before her eyes, but she managed to find the signature line. I do not need you anymore, Khalil continued, a mocking smile appearing. I am wealthy now. I am going to have a new life, beautiful and successful. You can remain in your ordinary world, if that is what you prefer. Did you really think I would carry you to the top with me? Look at yourself. You are plain. You are not the kind of woman a successful man needs. Each sentence landed like a blow. Still, Alana lifted her head. Something inside her shifted from raw pain to an icy, steady resolve. Where do I sign? She asked, her voice suddenly calm. Khalil blinked, surprised. He pointed to the line at the bottom of each page. Alana signed once, then again. 5 years of shared life reduced to strokes of ink. Good, he said, taking the folder back. That was efficient. I always knew you were practical. He opened the door. Have a good life. Perhaps you will find someone who is satisfied with small things. Alana picked up the suitcase and 1 bag. Her arms ached, but she did not show it. She came back for the 2nd bag. Khalil watched her with a self-satisfied smirk. You know, Alana, he said, folding his arms. I almost feel sorry for you. You are a decent woman, just not on my level. I am going to be in a different world now. Alana looked at him one last time. The love she once felt had vanished so completely that she found only emptiness. Goodbye, Khalil, she said simply and walked out. His laugh followed her down the stairwell. Outside, the spring sun was bright and almost cruelly cheerful. Birds sang, cars honked, and life moved around her as if nothing had changed. Alana stood on the sidewalk with her bags, no home, no husband, heart torn open, but her back remained straight. She took out her phone and called her closest friend. Rochelle, it is me, Alana said when she answered. Can I come over? I need a place to stay for a few days. I left Khalil. Rochelle's voice filled with concern. Of course you can come, she said. Tell the driver to bring you straight here. We will figure everything out at my place. Alana ordered a rideshare, loaded her luggage into the trunk, and finally let herself cry behind closed eyes as the familiar streets blurred past. Rochelle lived in a modest but neat one-bedroom apartment on the west side. She met Alana at the door with a hug and a cup of hot tea. Do not say anything yet, she said gently. Sit down. Drink this first, then tell me when you can. Over the next hour, Alana told her everything. She spoke about the long months of coldness, the inheritance, Khalil's words, and the way he pushed her out of the apartment as if she were a stranger. That man is shameless, Rochelle said when Alana finished. I never trusted his big plans, but you loved him, so I stayed quiet. He waited for money to arrive before he showed you exactly who he was. I did love him, Alana said softly. But I think that person disappeared a long time ago. For the next 3 days, Alana moved like a shadow. She went to work, came back to Rochelle's, ate whatever Rochelle placed in front of her, and slept on the pull-out couch. She did not cry. She did not think about the future. She simply existed, going through the motions, her mind numb. Khalil did not call or text. It was as if he had erased her. On the 4th day, Alana's phone rang just as she was preparing to leave for the clinic. The number was unfamiliar. This is Alana Vance, she said. A male voice answered. Good morning, Ms. Vance. My name is Attorney Reginald Sterling. I represent the estate of the late Leonard Vance. I need to meet with you regarding a matter related to the inheritance. Alana frowned. I am not a blood relative, she said. Leonard was my ex-husband's grandfather. We are in the process of divorcing. That is precisely why I need to meet with you, he said. It is important and time-sensitive. Can you come to my office today? Perhaps at 6 in the evening? She hesitated, then agreed. All day at the clinic, she wondered why a lawyer from Indianapolis wanted to speak with her. At 6:15, Alana stood in the hallway of a law office on South Michigan Avenue in Chicago. The receptionist waved her into a conference room. Inside, an older woman in a black dress and simple hat sat by the window. Alana recognized her as Aunt Gloria, Leonard's sister-in-law. Khalil stood against the wall, pale and tense. At the large wooden desk sat a man in his 50s with graying hair and serious eyes. Ms. Vance, please have a seat, he said. My name is Attorney Sterling. I am handling the estate of Mr. Leonard Vance. Alana sat slowly, keeping her purse on her lap. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Khalil looked at her quickly and then away, his jaw clenched. At our first meeting, Attorney Sterling continued, opening a folder. I informed Mr. Vance only in general terms about the contents of his grandfather's will. There is a clause that now requires a full reading in the presence of all interested parties. I will read the relevant section. He put on his glasses and began to read from the document. All of my property, including the condominium at the address in Indianapolis, the lake house property, my bank accounts, and my stock portfolio, I bequeath to my grandson, Khalil Vance. However, he may receive this inheritance only upon fulfillment of the following condition. At the time of claiming the inheritance, Khalil Vance must be in a legal marriage with his current spouse, Alana Vance, continuously for a period of no less than 1 year from the moment of my death. The room went silent. Attorney Sterling continued. Furthermore, in the event that the marriage is dissolved before the expiration of the specified term, or if at the time of my death Khalil Vance is not married to Alana Vance, all the aforementioned property shall transfer in full to Alana Vance, as a person who has demonstrated true loyalty and dignity. The words reached Alana as if from a distance. She stared at the table. The inheritance would pass to her if the marriage ended before 1 year had passed. Leonard had died only weeks earlier. Khalil had already filed for divorce. Slowly, she lifted her eyes. Khalil looked as if someone had pulled the ground from under his feet. That cannot be right, Khalil said hoarsely, stepping toward the desk. There must be a mistake. My grandfather would not do that. I am his only grandson. The will was drafted 2 years ago, Attorney Sterling replied calmly. It was properly notarized and signed in the presence of witnesses. It is entirely valid. Aunt Gloria stood up, her movements heavy but firm. She looked at Khalil with deep disappointment. Leonard saw how you treated Alana the last time he visited you in Chicago, she said. He stayed with you for 2 days. He watched you give her orders while she worked 2 jobs. He saw you talk down to her and take her kindness for granted. He told me he did not want his life's work to make you even more selfish. The lawyer nodded. Mr. Vance came to my office after that visit, he said. He said that if you remained married for at least 1 year after his death, it would mean that you two truly needed each other, and the inheritance would go to you. If you divorced earlier, he wanted Alana to receive the property as compensation for the years she had carried the weight of the relationship. Khalil swallowed. His voice was barely audible. When was the divorce filed? Attorney Sterling asked. Khalil cleared his throat. I filed the petition 2 days ago, he said. I paid extra for an expedited process. The lawyer turned a page. The court registered the divorce yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he said. Therefore, the condition has been violated. The marriage did not continue for 1 year after the testator's death. According to the will, the inheritance transfers to Ms. Alana Vance. Alana felt the air leave her lungs. $2.5 million, the condo, the lake house, the accounts, the stocks, all of it now belonged to her by law. Not to the man who had shoved her out of his home. To her. The realization was almost too large to grasp. No, Khalil whispered, his voice breaking. No, that is mine. I am his grandson. I have the right. You had the right, the lawyer said evenly. Until you chose to end your marriage. The will leaves no room for interpretation. Khalil turned to Alana abruptly and took a step closer, his eyes wild. Alana, listen, he said, sudden urgency in his voice. This is absurd. I said terrible things when I was stressed, but I did not mean them. We can fix this. We can get married again. Attorney Sterling, there must be a way to cancel the divorce, right? You cannot cancel the divorce, the lawyer replied. You can enter into a new marriage, but it would not be the marriage referenced in this document. The condition specifies continuous marriage from the time of death. That continuity has already been broken. Khalil dropped to his knees right in front of Alana's chair. His hands reached for hers. His palms were damp. Alana, please, he said. I will change. I will be better. We can be happy again. We can remarry, and I will share everything with you. I will transfer half of the inheritance to your account. No, more than half. You can take 70%. Just do not walk away from me. Alana gently pulled her hands free. Up close, she could see the fear in his eyes, but she also saw something else. Not love, not remorse, but panic over losing the money he believed belonged to him. Stand up, Khalil, she said quietly. Do not do this. I will do anything, he said, still on his knees. I will attend counseling. I will get a regular job. I will support you. I will never speak to you the way I did again. Just give me another chance. Alana looked at him steadily. You already made your choice, she said. You humiliated me and threw me out like trash. You showed me who you are. I will not go back to that, not for any amount of money. She turned to the lawyer. What do I need to do in order to claim the inheritance? She asked. Attorney Sterling's expression softened. We will need to prepare several documents, transfer the titles, and open accounts in your name, he said. We can begin today if you wish. I wish to begin, Alana said. Khalil jumped to his feet. You cannot just take everything, he shouted. I will go to court. I will contest the will. I will tell them that my grandfather was confused. This is not fair. You are free to attempt to challenge the will, the lawyer said. But Mr. Vance was examined by a physician shortly before he signed it. The records confirm that he was of sound mind. The document meets all legal requirements. The court is highly unlikely to overturn it. Aunt Gloria walked over to Alana and took her hand. Leonard was a fair man, she said quietly. He saw your worth. I am glad the inheritance came to you. You deserve peace and security after everything you have endured. Tears filled Alana's eyes for the first time in days, but they came from gratitude, not despair. You may go, Mr. Vance, Attorney Sterling said. Your presence is no longer required. Ms. Vance and I have matters to discuss. Khalil opened his mouth as if to argue, then shut it again. His shoulders slumped. After a moment, he turned and left the office. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Alana exhaled slowly. Only then did she realize that she had been holding her breath. Her legs felt weak, and she sank back into her chair. Are you all right? The lawyer asked. Would you like some water? I am all right, Alana said. It is simply a great deal to absorb. I never imagined anything like this. Over the next few weeks, Alana returned to Attorney Sterling's office multiple times. They signed forms, transferred property, and opened accounts. Appraisers calculated the true value of the condo, the lake house, and the portfolio. The total exceeded the initial estimate. When everything was completed, Alana stood in the living room of the Indianapolis condo that now belonged to her. High ceilings, tall windows, shelves of books, and the quiet presence of a man who had protected her even after his death surrounded her. Back in Chicago, Alana sat on the edge of the pull-out couch and called the clinic. Her supervisor sounded surprised when she gave notice. "You are one of our most reliable employees," he said. "Are you sure?" "I am sure," Alana replied. "I am grateful for the opportunity, but I need to make some changes in my life." She resigned from her bookkeeping clients as well. For the first time in years, she did not have a list of urgent tasks waiting for her when she woke. "What are you going to do now?" Rochelle asked one afternoon as they walked through a small park near the river. "I want to live for myself for a while," Alana said. "I want to sleep 8 hours. I want to sit in a class and learn a language just because I am curious. I want to take a painting course. I used to love drawing when I was a teenager." Rochelle smiled. "You should do all of that. You have spent too long carrying other people's dreams." Alana moved into the Indianapolis condo, at least for a while. She kept a smaller place in Chicago, but the condo became her base. She enrolled in French classes at a community center, signed up for a beginner painting workshop, and slowly filled her days with color instead of exhaustion. She visited Aunt Gloria regularly, bringing groceries and listening to stories about Leonard's younger years. One afternoon, over tea at Aunt Gloria's kitchen table, Alana shared another idea. "I want to create a small foundation," she said. "Something that helps women who are going through what I went through. Maybe legal support for divorces, temporary housing, help with job searches. Money is useful, but sometimes people just need someone to stand beside them while they start over." Aunt Gloria nodded approvingly. "Leonard would have liked that very much," she said. "He always believed that money should help people, not just sit in a bank account. If you do this, you will honor his name." Khalil did not disappear. He called, he sent messages, he waited outside the building in Chicago, and once he even tried to approach her outside the community center. At first he begged. "Alana, please talk to me," he said, walking beside her on the sidewalk. "We shared 5 years. Does that mean nothing to you?" "You answered that question when you put my suitcase in the hallway," she replied. "I am not going back." When begging did not work, he tried anger, then returned to pleading again. One evening, he showed up at Rochelle's door with a bouquet of roses whose petals had already begun to wilt. Alana opened the door and saw him standing there, shoulders slumped, eyes red from lack of sleep. "I have been waiting on the stairs every night," he said. "I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. Please come back. We can marry again. I will sign whatever you want. You can have all of the inheritance. I only want you." She looked at him for a long moment and felt nothing but a distant, cool pity. "Khalil, you still do not understand," she said. "This is not about money. You showed me who you are when you chose money over me. I will not tie my life to a man who can treat me that way. Not now, not ever. Goodbye." She closed the door gently and did not open it again, no matter how long he knocked. The foundation slowly took shape. Alana hired a small staff, met with legal aid attorneys, and created a network of shelters and counselors. She found herself in conference rooms discussing budgets and programs, this time for her own project. She painted in the evenings, her canvases filling with bright colors instead of muted grays. 6 months after the day in the lawyer's office, on a cool autumn afternoon, Alana sat in a coffee shop in downtown Chicago, the same one she and Rochelle often used as a meeting spot. She ordered a cappuccino and a croissant, chose a table by the window, and opened a paperback novel. The city outside glowed with bright leaves and clear light. The door opened and she glanced up briefly. Khalil walked in. He looked older, thinner, and worn. His clothes were wrinkled, his shoes scuffed. A young woman stood beside him, wearing a tight dress and heavy makeup, her expression mildly impatient. "How long is this going to take, Khalil?" the woman asked. "You said we were going somewhere nicer later. This place is small. I just need to get us something to drink," he muttered, keeping his eyes on the menu overhead. "We will go somewhere else afterward." Alana watched as he emptied his pockets at the counter, counting crumpled bills and coins. His hands shook slightly. The young woman, whom the barista called Candy when she gave her name for the order, crossed her arms and sighed loudly. "You make a lot of promises," Candy said. "If you cannot follow through, you should not make them." Khalil nodded, humiliated, and carried their 2 coffees back to a small table in the corner. For a brief second, His gaze met Alana's across the room. Surprise, then longing crossed his face. He took a step in her direction, as if he meant to approach her. Alana calmly lowered her eyes to her book and returned to her chapter. He stopped, then turned back to his table. Candy continued talking. Khalil stared into his cup. Alana finished her cappuccino and the last bite of croissant, left a generous tip, and stood. She walked past Khalil's table without slowing down. He did not call out to her. Outside, the sun was warm, the sky a clear blue. She stepped onto the sidewalk, lifted her face to the light, and let herself breathe deeply. As she walked, her phone rang. Aunt Gloria's name lit up the screen. "Alana, the apples at the lake house are ready for picking," she said cheerfully. "If you have time this weekend, you should come. We will bake pies." "I will be there," Alana said. "I would not miss it." She ended the call and continued down the street. She passed the window of a travel agency. Photographs of New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and Atlanta filled the display. For a moment, she imagined herself walking along a pier in Miami or standing in Times Square. She smiled at the thought and then shook her head. There was no rush. Her life no longer depended on squeezing joy into rare free hours. A few weeks later, Alana flew to New Orleans. She stood on a bridge over the Mississippi River, the air warm and heavy with music from a nearby street performer. For the first time since she could remember, tears ran down her face purely from happiness. She was here because she could choose to be here, not because she was running away from something. That evening, back at the condo, she stepped out onto the balcony with a glass of wine. The city lights stretched out before her like a sea of tiny stars. Somewhere below, people were talking and laughing, living ordinary lives. Alana leaned on the railing, looking up at the clear night sky. She thought of Leonard, of his careful gaze during his last visit, of the way he must have watched her wash dishes and pick up after Khalil while she smiled politely at his questions. She remembered the quiet kindness in his eyes. "Thank you, Grandad Leonard," she whispered into the night air. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for giving me a chance to start over. I will live this life with dignity. I promise." A soft breeze carried her words into the darkness. Alana finished her wine and went inside. She turned off the lights, lay down in her bed, and closed her eyes. There was no tightness in her chest, no dread about the next day, no fear of another cutting remark. There was simply the steady, quiet knowledge that tomorrow would come, and that it truly belonged to her. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.